Gamecast, the only podcast which features inklings and will pull at your heartstrings.
What?
You love doing that as the intro. Who is here with me? I'm Jonathan.
I'm Kendall.
Ah, what a surprise. It's Kendall once again, and this week on Long Road Gamecast, we are going to be talking about Splatoon 2.
Oh, am I supposed to say something? Yeah. Splatoon 2. I'm just the hype woman. I'm just along for the ride. I don't know what's happening.
Well, I am excited about this game. It is something which I missed out because I did not have a Wii U, so the first Splatoon, which came out on the Wii U, was just not something I did. Let's go with the bare facts of the game first, and then Kendall is going to have some trivia. Is that right? You're
Absolutely.
You're the one asking.
I had to figure out the trivia last week, and I did badly. So this is going to be a little revenge on you to see how you do.
Well, good. The world of Splatoon is fueled by petty revenge.
It absolutely is.
Very cutthroat society that these humanoid cephalopods have constructed. But the sociological study can come later. Let's talk about Splatoon 2, the basics, published by Nintendo. The first one was developed by Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development, or Nintendo EAD. This one, Splatoon 2, is the successor organization, which was made by some combinations internally to get into the fun office politics of the bureaucracy of Nintendo of Japan, and it was developed by Nintendo Entertainment Planning and Development. The first one was released, Splatoon 1, on May 28th, 2015, but this one, Splatoon 2, was released in July 21st, 2017. Splatoon 3 will come in the summer of 2022, I believe, or sometime in 2022. The manufacturer suggested retail price was $59.99, $60. Hiroshi Nagami was the producer, also produced for Animal Crossing, and Aya Kyogo, she was the managing director of the group which oversees Animal Crossing and Splatoon, which I noticed some similarities when it came to the songs and the music. The kind of animals singing kind of sounds like the Inklings singing. And so they share some people working on them. We'll talk about Animal Crossing New Horizons another date. So without further delay to our fun lightning round of trivia, let's go to our squid or octopus facts. And I understand, Kendall, it's asking me about squid, octopus, or just cephalopod in general.
There you go.
Say that same time 5 times fast. Cephalopod in general.
So, fun fact for all y'all, I have a full biology minor, and once upon a time I had to take like organismal diversity and learn all these fun things. I have long since forgotten all of that, so I can assure you that I don't remember these, and I just looked them up this week. But yes, I'm gonna give Jonathan 10 questions, and he's gonna guess if the question is about a squid, or an octopus, or a cephalopod. And a cephalopod, if you don't know what that is, it's basically any of the animals that fall into the molluscus. It's like a mollusk. So it's going to be squids, octopuses, cuttlefish, and nauticals or something like that. So basically like squid, octopus, or both is another way to think of it. Are you ready for this?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
They are loosely like from easy to most difficult, but that might actually not be true. So, number 1, who has a tube-shaped body with a rod-like internal shell?
A squid.
Yes, good job. Woohoo! 1 for Jonathan so far. Number 2, who releases dark-colored luminous ink into the water to get away when they feel threatened?
That's definitely a squid, and it's maybe also an octopus, or just cephalopods in general. No, I think it's just a squid.
Is that your final answer?
It's both. It's a cephalopod.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay, you're correct. It is a cephalopod. Okay. Yes, they all release ink. So good job. Well, I say that. The bonus fun fact here is actually all cephalopods except 2 specific deep sea octopuses. For whatever reason, the Nautilidae and the Serena. I'm guessing I'm not saying those right, but they don't. But all the other cephalopods do. Number 3, who has 10 legs? 8 regular sized and 2 longer legs.
A squid.
Yes, good job. Which would make sense because octopus is like octo 8. Number 4, who in their larger species can have eyes as big as footballs?
A squid.
Yes, good job. You were crushing it.
Well, most of these are squid, except for one, which has been both.
Well, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, so the giant squid and the colossal squid both have eyes as big as footballs. Number 5, who appears in mythology as sea monsters such as the Kraken of Norway and Victor Hugo's Toilers of the Sea? I had to throw in like a literature question for you since that's like your thing. I don't know if you read these.
Yeah, I think there's also one in 50,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Jules Verne, Captain Nemo adventure that I read like in 5th grade or something. I'm gonna say squid.
No, it's actually an octopus.
Oh, I got one
You've
incorrect.
gotten one wrong. Yep, they're starting to get tougher. That second half. Number 6, who has been observed playing in a lab by repeatedly throwing bottles or toys into a circular current and then catching them?
Oh, an octopus.
Yeah. Why did you know that?
I read an article in either the New Yorker or the Atlantic about like octopus brains and how they're so different. Like if there's anything most like a space alien brain, then it might be an octopus.
Yeah, it's true. So some of the things I was reading about octopuses is that oh wait, I might not be able to give this away yet. No, it's fine. But yeah, they're just like actually really smart, even though they don't really know why they're smart because like the parent octopuses don't really teach their babies anything, but they have like a lot of potential to be intelligent and learn things. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, they're not social, but I read that they could like recognize, maybe this will be one of your future questions. They can recognize the differences between people or something, even though they're not like wolves or they're not pack animals. They don't seem all that social. But they were able to recognize the differences in people's faces and like throw things and be mean to the people they didn't like when held in captivity or something.
Something like that. So number 7, moving along. I'm not sure how to say this. I would pronounce it teuthology. It's TEUTHOLOGY. Teuthology is the study of what?
My Greek classes are really failing me right now.
Is this a Greek word?
Well, I'm assuming like a lot of these scientific studies are, a lot of roots are Greek or Latin, that's right. But is it the study of cephalopods?
Yes. Good job.
Okay. Just context clues, what we're talking about.
Yeah, and if any of our listeners know how to actually say that word, I would love for someone to record it and let us know because I have no idea. Number 8, who can swim faster than any other invertebrate?
Squid.
Yes, good job. Number 9, who has the highest brain to body mass ratios of all invertebrates and many vertebrates?
Brain to body? That's going to be an octopus.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because interestingly enough, like unlike us where like all of our brain is like concentrated in our head, octopuses, like the nerves and the neurons and stuff that go throughout their arms are like so dense that it's kind of like a continued brain. It's very fascinating. And then the last one, who has ink that has been harvested for use in pens, quills, and food coloring?
Both?
Yes, good job.
Cephalopods?
Yes.
So what is that? 9 correct? 9
yeah,
correct?
You did pretty good.
Incorrect?
Maybe I should have done it harder. I don't know
Didn't
what you
think I
know
knew
about them.
anything about my cephalopods, but I am a cephalopod extraordinaire over here.
Apparently. Can you put that on your resume?
Yes. No, it's going to be pinned to my LinkedIn profile. I know a
I mean,
lot of.
I think that's something potential employers want to know about you.
Yes. I mean, you got to know. Like, you could have asked where fried squid is a popular. Uh, which one is a popular movie theater snack, and I could have told you fried squid. In Asia, you can get fried squid at the movie theater.
Yeah, but I knew that you knew that story, so I wasn't going to use that.
Couldn't throw me a free one.
I give you a
Uh,
couple of easy ones.
so the reason we're talking about squids or rather inklings and octolings, the humanoid versions or successors to squids and octopods or octopuses or whatever ending you do. Octopodes would be the Greek ending. So, and octo
Today I
is,
learned.
yeah. So however you pluralize it, is the game of Splatoon is based in a futuristic, I guess, Earth after an ecological disaster, and sea creatures have evolved and become humanoid and have their own kind of society in a very like Tokyo looking hub world, and they fight each other. Specifically, the Inklings do, and Octolings. You can play as an Octoling after you finish the Octoling expansion. They fight each other, but their main thing they try to do is cover the arena in ink. So it is a third-person shooter that your main aim is not necessarily to kill, though this Nintendo game, you don't kill anyone. It's splatting, and then you just go back to the beginning. Uh,
Which
but
is
you're
why it's a great game, because I get splatted a lot, but I can still play.
Yeah, you kind of respawn there and even relaunch yourself back near your teammates if they're not under attack. And your main goal, at least in the turf war, so there's other things like a kind of capture the flag option and ranks or what have you. In the multiplayer online mode is to cover as much of the arena as possible with your ink. And so it's
It kind of looks like you're playing paintball almost.
yeah, it's like your team will have a different color. You might be orange, they might be blue. You might be green, they might be magenta. There's always these contrasting colors. And the end of like a 3-minute match for Turf Wars, again, there's other modes. It will calculate how much area you covered of the floor.
Yeah, it does not count the walls. Don't make that mistake like we made at the beginning.
The walls are really only useful for you when you are on the ink. You can hold down the left trigger and swim really a lot faster through your own color ink. Whereas if you're in your enemy's color ink, it hurts you or it's really hard to travel through and doesn't really work out. So it's a kind of unique sort of Nintendo's multiplayer shooter, really, but in a very Nintendo fashion. They've done it very differently, using all the build-out tech of what messy, inky goo looks like from Super Mario Sunshine days onward. So it's a very different sort of game. The characters are bright and colorful, and I don't know, like, Kendall, what was your impression when you first saw Inklings and Splatoon?
I think that, well, I love all things bright and colorful. So for me, this game is very bright and colorful. So that's just fun and happy to me. But in terms of like the Inklings themselves, they're like, I don't know, they're kind of sassy. Like all of their outfits are kind of sassy and spunky, if you will. So it's kind of a fun, like, middle ground, I guess, of like happy and kid friendly, but also kind of like spunky and edgy, and I'm shooting all the things.
Yeah, they definitely wanted it to look futuristic. The music is this combination of like um kind of electronic tracks with some choruses and this inkling gibberish that kind of sounds like Animal Crossing gibberish. And
I really appreciate the last minute the music changes, and it's a really fun tune that I
yeah,
occasionally find myself singing.
the last minute of Turf Wars where you're
Yeah,
trying to cover.
specifically.
And Nintendo really kind of had this strategy, from what I've read, of features which slowly uh, release over like a year. We're 3 years out from this game coming out, so we're in kind of a unique situation. There's been some influx of people because we bought this on sale for
Mhm.
like I think $40 or $50, which included the expansion, which was normally $20. So rather than paying $80 for all this stuff, we got it for like 50 or something.
Mhm.
So there's been some new people from that, but everything's kind of released, and even some of the like waiting room, lounge room, Nintendo Switch app online features have been shut down. Not all of them, but some of them have been shut down. But it's still like a pretty active game, it seems like, as far as online games on the Nintendo Switch go. So we kind of talked in circles and generalities about Splatoon 2. Why don't we take some time and you can go first, Kindle, with your first three favorite modes or features or things that you like about Splatoon 2?
Yeah, sure. So honestly, my favorite feature of this game is the turf war, which is like it's actually the most basic part. It's like where you start. It's like you can't even do some of the other modes until like you reach level 10 in turf wars. It's just the basic kind of paintball the arena, try to get the most color of your team. And honestly, I just really like it because it's like I find it weirdly relaxing. I don't think it's supposed to be relaxing because like it's kind of a shooter game and I do die. I mean, I don't really die. I get splatted a lot. But it really doesn't bother me. Because you're just kind of like holding down the trigger and spraying your paint everywhere and making all the things a nice happy color. And I enjoy that. It's like weirdly I don't know, it's not quite like crafting in real life, but I imagine it's kind of like the video game version of me just like painting like pretty abstract art or something. I don't know. I find it very, very chill, very fun. I just enjoy the turf war. What was your top one?
So I liked Salmon Run, and this is a different mode. These are the actually probably the two best modes for playing with a friend. So Splatoon, one thing is it's going to be a more kind of expensive multiplayer experience. We are playing off one copy because of that whole family account workaround that we discussed in last episode. You could find articles in the show notes for that episode on how to operate on one digital copy with two switches on the same family account and still play each other. But you can't actually do couch co-op even if we were in the same state, which we're not. But these two modes have a thing where, like, if your friend is in matchmaking, you can join them.
Mhm.
And Turf War has that. Salmon Run. What I like about Salmon Run is it's a horde mode. You have these waves of like special bosses that are called salmonoids. They're like anthropomorphic salmon that you are just mowing down. And of course, they make you feel better about it. They're like, oh, they're non-sentient. They're just like these monsters. But these monsters are like driving vehicles and operating complex technology. So I think it's just the game's way of making you feel okay about committing mass genocide. But your whole thing is you're working for Mr. Grizz. Mr.
Who is
Grizz,
sketchy?
well, he's just a wooden bear statue with an antenna on him, uh, who seems to maybe just be using voice commands. I don't even know if it's a real person talking to you or if he's just running the operation because he says the same canned lines to you. And you're working with a team of four, and there's the regular salmonoids that just give you regular eggs, but you have a quota each round or each wave of how many boss salmonoids, and they each have a gimmick on how to splat them. One has like these hovers and it has these trash cans that open up and you have to throw like an ink bomb grenade into it. Another one like goes in this eel cart and you have to shoot the little driver in the back. One has a balloon come out of its head. You have to shoot it with ink until it explodes with your color ink. There's all sorts of different types, but they come in waves and you have a quota and there's a timer. And there's all sorts of strategies, and you just say the craziest things to each other, like the eggs are over here. Come and splat this guy with ink. Come get the eggs. Go up the stream of ink into the cart. Like
Or
it's
if
just
you're me, you just say help me a lot, because once you get splatted in this game, unlike the turf war, when you just go back to the beginning and automatically start over, in Salmon Run, someone from your team has to like splat you with your all's ink
yeah.
so that you get revived. So like you kind of just like float on this little like life preserver and you can move around closer to them saying, help me, help me.
And there are we didn't actually use voice chat with anyone. We one time used the voice chat, but we're just on the phone. So there's these on the D-pad. There's like help me buttons or over here
Hmm.
in Salmon Run, and I think like in Turf Wars, the up on the D-pad is booyah, and down is ouch or something. And then in Salmon Run, it's over here and help me or something like that.
Hmm.
So Salmon Run is just a lot of fun. I, I think Kindle found it a bit more frantic.
Yeah, so Salmon Run was actually my number two. I did enjoy it. Caveat one, like before you do like the actual Salmon Run runs, you have to do like a Salmon Run orientation where Mr. what's his name?
Grizz,
Grizz.
like grizzly bear.
Oh, okay. So I never put that connection together. It's making more sense now. But Mr. Grizz like is like teaching you how to like kill each of the different types of the bosses. Um, and literally I was unable to figure out anything he was telling me to do. I failed every single round of the orientation. But because it's a kids game, I guess, I don't know why, he just like he just passes you along anyways. He's like, "Oh, you're not very good at this. Let's try a different one," hoping you'll get some of them, and I didn't get any of them. So it took me like a ton of rounds and like Jonathan teaching me each of the different types because I couldn't figure
Types
it
of the
out.
boss salmonoids.
Yeah, I just like could not understand what I was supposed to be doing. So it took me a lot longer to learn. And then because it's timed, like I'm just not someone who like is good at meeting like really timed things. Like even in school, like time tests, absolutely not. No, thank you. Do not want to do that. And so like it's definitely like gonna get your heart beating a little bit more. There's definitely like more of a goal and more at stake. Because like there's multiple rounds and they get harder as you go. So for that reason, it was significantly less relaxing than Turf War. But you know, if Turf War is just a little too mellow for you, Salmon Run is a great option.
Yeah. So my number two, since we covered Salmon Run, is the Nintendo Switch app functionality. It is one of I think three Nintendo games that has its own channel on the Nintendo Switch app. The others are Super Smash Brothers Ultimate and Animal Crossing New Horizons. And the way it works is there's like these pop star, well, I don't know if they're pop stars, they're like talk show hosts, um, announcers who open every time you boot up the game with the announcement of the two stages for Turf War, the two stages for ranked, and the two stages for the highest like competitive, and they rotate, but the app will show you the rotation. Salmon Run isn't available 24/7. They change the weapons you get for Salmon Run. They get change the stages, and that's on a schedule. It's pretty generous. Like you're not gonna have to wait a whole lot of time to be able to play Salmon Run, but it is trying to, I guess, concentrate people into shifts, so that you can always find people to play with. And you can also order custom items from the app, which I thought was kind of cool. There's a whole store option, there's custom gear from hats to headphones to face mask. They all get different abilities that swimming faster, spawning faster, jumping faster, um, uh, getting ink more quickly, reloading ink because you have to reload the ink in the pool of your own team's ink to reload your kind of gun, or your roller brush, which is a weapon, or your sniper, which shoots paint, which is weird. There's all sorts of different kind of weapons. Your tin spray thing, spray gun, which is my favorite. Real Splatoon fans, if they happen to listen, are going to be like, no, they're called dual splatties and something else junior, and like they know all the names and I don't know the names. But the app really adds to the functionality. It gives you stats, how much P, like it's just called P when, like the letter P when you're splatting thing, how much you inked in your career, how many people you've splatted, how the stats. And I just thought it was a really good use of Nintendo Switch Online app having different channels. And that was really cool to be able to look up when's the next time we can do a salmon run without actually having to boot up the game.
And we definitely planned when we were going to play the game around what the app would say. So it was very helpful.
What'd you like for your number 3?
So number 3, this is probably not a main point of the game, but as I mentioned before, the characters that you have are, I think they're really spunky. I think all of the like clothing and accessories and things you can get are really like kind of spunky and fun. And when you're in like, not the actual game mode, but when you're in kind of the little downtown area, they have a whole like line of shops. And then also you can see like the different other characters that are there. And when you go up to another character, it will like tell you everything that they're wearing. So if you see something that you like, you can see what it is, how much it is, order it, or when, if you have enough like little money stuff saved up. So I just think it's really fun to personalize them. Technically, if you're like really into the game, the types of outfits that you make, like everything that you equip does something, and like you can actually, like, the more you use it in different games, it'll like increase like the effectiveness of the item. But I gotta be honest, I don't look at that and I don't care. I kind of treat the spunky outfits a little bit more like Animal Crossing characters and just do what I think is fun and feels like me that day. Not that I have a huge wardrobe yet, but I do have several different items. And I just think it's fun to kind of go shopping in the, like, I don't know, the Mile Mall of the Squid Village.
Yeah, for real. My third thing is the Octo expansion. Now, full disclosure, neither one of us finished any of the single player mode. We were really focusing on the multiplayer aspects, but there is a single player mode, which is included with the main game, and there's a second single player mode, which I've not finished, called the Octo expansion, where you play as an octoling on a deep sea subway, and you do these different challenges and have this subway system that sometimes you're guiding something to an end, sometimes you're trying to beat something with limited amount of ink, sometimes you're on a mission, and you can try, and you can get bonuses and points that help you progress along the subway for meeting certain conditions or missions. And at the end of it, you could use an octoling, which look a little bit different than inklings. They're more octopus than squid, though they're both pretty anthropomorphic in the main game, which I think is a goal that I want to work toward, because I think it'd be really cool to be playing as an octoling. But it's a good single player experience that I think stands on its own, and you can tell some of the challenges remind me of Breath of the Wild shrines. And I think they were influenced by Zelda Breath of the Wild shrines, because they're these puzzly sort of challenges that aren't too long. And unlike a Zelda dungeon, which sometimes I'm like, I'm just in this dungeon forever in this Zelda game. If you don't like subway stop in the Octo expansion, you can just go to another place and skip it, or even pay to skip it. And the two hosts, whose names I forget, and real Splatoon fans are yelling them right now, they will hack into the system to convince it that you actually beat the thing. So it can be forgiving. Like, oh, you're sure losing a lot. We can hack into the system and make it look like you beat this level, which is a very handholdy way. But, there's only so many hours in a day. I can't spend an hour on a Splatoon 2 level.
Absolutely not.
So that will lead us to our least favorite modes or features. Kindle, what are you thinking?
All right. I mean, I've never designed a video game, so take this with a grain of salt, but like, I do not understand why the video game designers chose to have so many different matching systems for the online multiplayer. It was chaotic and weird and inconsistent, and quite frankly, sometimes it just didn't work. And so, what I mean by this is, we've mentioned that there's several different versions of online gameplay, right? You have Turf Wars, you have Salmon Run, and then you have Ranked, which we haven't talked a lot about Ranked yet. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And each one of those different online multiplayer options has a different way for you to match up with the friends that you're wanting to play with online. So the most functional one, which I feel like they should have done for the whole game and do not understand why they did it, is with Salmon Run. So what you do with Salmon Run when you want to play with someone that you know, you both go to the little Salmon Run location in the town, and then one of you, it's like called setting up a room or something, and then the other one joins the room, and so you just let all of your online friends join the room that is going to play, up to 4, of course, because Salmon Run only does 4, and then however many spots you have left, you just click a button to fill those spots, and so then it will match, 2 or 3 people with you, and it'll just fill up your group. So every single time you get to play with the people you wanted to play with, and you don't have to wait for weird matching to work. That's not how it works on the other ones. So for Ranked, there is no system. You can't just match automatically. So there's this awkward, frantic, we literally had to be on the screen to join a ranked battle at the same time and count down from 3 and click the join button at the exact same time
and hope it matched us. Yeah.
In hope that if we did it on time enough and we were connected to fast enough internet speeds that we might get paired together. And it worked, I don't know, what would you say, a third of the time?
Well, see, it would work, but then we wouldn't be together for the next match. And the big reason behind that is because they don't actually want you to play with the same people all the time in ranked. They want you to be with different people because it's a competitive sort of thing. So they don't really want you to play with a consistent group of friends in ranked. And so they just don't have a system. So you can get matched to each other at the same time if you happen to time it just right in the first time. But then the next match, they're not going to keep you together like they will in Turf War or Salmon Run.
Yeah. And that's just not how I wanted to play ranked. So that was annoying. And then Turf War had a nice happy medium, I guess. It didn't have the option to join a room. But you could basically one of you would join the Turf War and then the other one would see that you were playing and it would be join this friend. And so then it would add you to that friend's battle once a spot became available. So you would have to wait, a round or sometimes 2 or 3 rounds for someone to drop out of their Turf War battles, and then it would fill you in. So that was okay, but why did I have to wait? Why didn't you just keep the same thing as Salmon Run? I don't understand.
Yeah, it just, I think if you are looking for competitive play and you want to play alone, it's great. And my main frustration with this is not that ranked doesn't let us match, it's that it's a completely different game mode. It's not just Turf War, which is the cover the most amount of area you can. It's a capture the flag style, different sort of game mode where you're trying to catch something called a Rainmaker. Your splats matter a lot more because you're trying to prevent the team from getting the Rainmaker to the receptacle, the kind of base sort of part where there's a clear end point, which is not just the time running out. And you can play different modes in a private match if you have enough friends. But we didn't do that. We just played the 2-us. We don't have many friends with this game. We didn't set up any private matches. So if you want to play other game modes that aren't Turf War or Salmon Run with a friend, you have to do a private match. You can't. There's no matchmaking for other game modes. And so that makes it a little bit difficult to enjoy a variety of game modes because their lack of sort of matchmaking other than private match, which is a little frustrating. So we discussed too many matching systems. We both discussed our chagrin with ranked and wonky matchmaking. I'm just going to reiterate that it's not the cheapest multiplayer experience. On the one hand, I think this is a more fully featured, more traditional, a game that we might return to more than last week's 51 Worldwide Classics. On the other hand, there's no question that Worldwide Classics is the better deal.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as money spent, you can play so much of Worldwide Classics with just one Switch, or even just on the screen. You know, if you just put the Switch on the tabletop, there's all sorts of modes. It's very versatile. This one is pretty expensive for the amount of modes that you're getting, even if I think that what's there is super fun, and I enjoy it a ton.
Yeah. And then my least favorite thing, it's one of those things where it's actually not a big deal, but it's like, because it's not a big deal, it sometimes eats away at me. So every time you boot up the game, there's like this little talk show thing that's happening between some of the characters, and it's like supposed to be a time, because remember how Jonathan mentioned like they're they kind of rotate what like battlefield, that's not what they're called, what turfs are in
Arenas.
arenas. Thank you. I don't know words. What are words? But they like change up the arenas every so often, and they tell you about like what's new in the game for that week or whatever. And like the first time I saw this little talk show thing, it was cute and fun, and I was like, this is great. But you have to remember that the characters don't like actually say words. So you have to like read everything they say. And it's like this little gibberish, and it's not skippable. Like you can kind of make it go faster, but there's not like just a straight skip button. And so, like by the third or fourth time that I logged onto this game, I was so annoyed. Like I don't want to watch this clip every time I boot up the game, and there's no way around it, unless you just never close the game, which is not a real option. So just be aware there is that unskippable intro. It's not that long, but it is just long enough to be annoying.
I often just did exactly what you said was not a good option, which is I'm not going to watch YouTube on the Switch. I'm going to watch it on something else so I don't shut down Splatoon 2, so I don't have to watch the intro again. Because if it's just suspended and you go back into it, you don't have to watch the little intro show. Let's go into our rankings then, based on our categories: gameplay, value, design, relationship, and talk about gameplay. Out of 5, what would you rank this on the gameplay front?
I ranked it as a 5. I really thought it was fun. Once you get the hang of it, it's fun anyways. I didn't always love the learning curve that came with it, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. It looks good. It's a nice, pretty game, which I guess we'll talk more in another category too. So it was good.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 as well. It's unique. There's no other really multiplayer game like it. It's good and frustrating in very typical Nintendo ways. It's something that I think is, as the game loves to say, as a compliment, fresh.
Yes, very
but
fresh.
It's also just, if you're going to play a multiplayer game that's a shooter, and you're not both this kind of like Call of Duty Twitch reflex shooter kind of people, the great thing about Splatoon 2 is like you're helping if you're shooting the ground. Mm-hmm. You're helping if you're not able to hit people very well, but you're just, you know, that's what the giant paint roller is great for, is you can just roll really fast. You're not really good as kind of a melee weapon. It's not a distance weapon, but it's still really helpful to have a paint roller person on your team. So I gave it a 5 for gameplay. I think it's unique, it's fun. I didn't feel like I was missing too much having not done Splatoon 1. I felt like I was fine jumping into Splatoon 2. I'm sure Splatoon 3 will be the same way. So let's go to value. What did you say for value?
I said 4, but now that I'm kind of thinking back on it, I might have ranked this on the value that we paid versus the value of the actual retail price. And those are two different stories. So maybe a little bit less than a 4, actually, if you got it at regular price. But if you find it on sale, definitely worth it.
Yeah, so we did buy it on the Nintendo Switch, like kind of summer multiplayer sale. I do think it's really good for that. You also need to keep in mind that there is a Splatoon 3 coming out next year. Now, there's good and bad to that. One, if you want to get ready for it, there's often a bump in the few months before a sequel release where people come back to the game, and I think you'll find lots of matches, lots of things to do. But also, after Splatoon 3 releases, I'm sure a lot of the audience is going to go away. But 3 years having a pretty active multiplayer community, and we did see we're both part of
They
the
are an active community, y'all.
We're on the Facebook group, and it's a mix of really technical posts. I watched one on one thing we didn't talk about was the motion controls, and I do like the motion controls for the precise aiming, and I based how I calibrated my motion controls based on a post in this group, this Facebook group for Splatoon 3, or Splatoon 2, and soon Splatoon 3 as they advertise themselves. And then there's like a mix of like fan art and a grandma saying, I joined this group because my 6-year-old granddaughter is really into Splatoon and I started playing with her.
And everyone's like giving this grandma tips on how to get started and understand the game. It's like, man, in this little world, it's like a nice little sweet family.
Yeah, it's just nice. It's cute. And so I gave it a 3.5. I was a little bit more harsh on it for value. But if you can get it on sale, for sure. But just know what you're getting into. And I always find it helpful. So many times multiplayer games, you feel like if I wasn't there when nobody was good in week 2, I'm just never going to be able to make it. But I will say, coming in after this sale, there's people of all levels. You will get thrashed by some people, but you're not going to lose every match if you're just getting started, which is a nice feeling.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the relationship aspects. Is this a good game for people who are long-distance relationship to play together, Kendall?
It's a good game. I will say I gave it a 3 for relationship, so like solidly, average. And the reason is partly because you can't control what team you're on, even if you get like matched in the same game for like turf war or range. Like you can't guarantee that you will be actually on the same team. So you might be playing against each other, and quite frankly, I think we played against each other more times than we didn't. So there were plenty of times where we were splatting each other and trying to like really like go against each other so that our teams would win. And sometimes that would get really frustrating because Jonathan's a lot better at the motion control aim than I am. So like he would just like mercilessly get me, and that drove me bonkers. And then when I drove him bonkers, I'm assuming is like when we were on Salmon Run, you're always on the same team because it's just like a group of 4 people. Remember how I said I didn't understand how to play Salmon Run? So like first, I mean, even probably now, like all the time when we're like on the phone and I'm trying to play with him, I'm just like screaming questions at him. Like, how do I do this? How do I kill this thing? I need you to tell me faster. Where are you? I need you to revive me. And like, I'm just annoying the heck out of him. Like, I don't know how he gets anything done because I'm just like frantically like yelling things at him that I need him to tell me like what to do, which I'm sure is not enjoyable on his end, but I mean, I need the answers, so suck it up.
I thought Salmon Run was fine. It will flex those communication skill options. Again, in the most ridiculous scenario where you're just yelling at each other about ink eels and eggs and baskets and saying that you got splatted and all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
But I gave it a 4 for relationship. I recognize like essentially all the complaints that Kendall brought up, but I also think that when it comes to matchmaking issues aside, when it comes to multiplayer shooters, this is the one that I think is going to strain you less than many. I would rather, like, for example, I would rather play this with you than even a team-based game like Overwatch. Like Overwatch, a team-based
that would go terribly.
thing.
Yeah, no.
I feel like we would be much more at each other's throats with Overwatch or Halo.
That's fair. Oh, Halo would never happen.
Than with Splatoon. So that is our last category. I gave it a 16.5 out of 20. Kindle gave it a 16. That's 8.25 out of 10. And 8 out of 10 for Kindle, making it our top ranked game.
Yeah.
Last week, I think it was 7 and 7.25 or somewhere in the 7s for Clubhouse games. So that is Splatoon 2. How about that?
Yeah. So now you know all the deets, and you can prepare yourself to get Splatoon 3 when it comes out.
You know, I'm going to have to look up if we can put Splatoon 2 background music without getting just copyright strikes from Nintendo as background, because people need to hear this.
It's such a great soundtrack. It's so fun.
We didn't talk about the music enough, but talking about it is no substitute for hearing it. That last 60 seconds, you're right, of Turf Wars, it will get you amped for anything. Next time you need to wash dishes,
just turn it on. It'll get you hyped up. You'll do them real fast.
People are all about it. There's Spotify playlist, I know, which makes me think that maybe we could get away with putting some background.
Oh, I forgot about the Spotify playlist.
All right, so we are running low on time. I want to hear, Kindle, what have you been up to this week? What else are you enjoying?
Well, if we're talking about books that I'm reading for class, I've been reading Christian Social Innovation because I have a book report on that due tomorrow, so wish me luck tonight.
Riveting read!
Woo! Actually, it is really good. Very convicting for people in ministry. But if we're talking about games, I've played a little bit of Animal Crossing. I've gotten a little behind on my island. I need to get a few more things so I can welcome a new resident. But we're coming along. It's getting there.
Good. I've been doing this and that. I've been to kind of a YouTube rabbit hole. Very sad to learn about Norm Macdonald passing. And so that, as of recording, it was this week on Tuesday. It is now Thursday, and I have been watching Norm Macdonald bits on YouTube a ton. I even had a leftover Audible credit, and I bought his novel disguised as a memoir. So I am listening to that, and it's read by him in his very distinctive voice.
I did not know that he read it.
Oh yeah, he did. I made sure, because I've gotten audiobooks where I've like, oh, this person's a famous speaker. No, they didn't read their own audiobook. It's terrible. But it's been really enjoyable. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. He's I think it's always a thing to say, oh, this celebrity was irreplaceable. I just can't see someone filling quite the same mold that Norm Macdonald did.
No, there's zero chance.
So, well, we do have next week. Kindle, would you like to tell people what the next episode? We will try to get this one, as you can see, we spent a lot of time on Splatoon. A lot of time between episodes.
Be a little better next week.
we I don't know if we need to make promises, but we will try. So what are we doing next time?
So next week is Kirby week. Get hyped. We're we've been doing newer games the last couple weeks, so we're doing a little bit more kind of throwbacks. So we're going to do Kirby Dream Course, Kirby's Dream Land 3, and Super Kirby Clash. And of these three games, I'm only familiar with one of them, and I've barely played the one, Kirby Dream Course. So these will be brand new games for me, even though they're actually pretty old games. So look forward to kind of a throwback review for this.
Yeah, the only one that's modern is Super Kirby Clash, which is I think it might be a freemium game. Like, it's free to download, but you can buy upgrades, and we'll see how much you can really do for free on that. I could be wrong. Don't write me, angry Kirby fans.
We don't know yet. We haven't done it yet, so calm down.
Kirby fans with the angry Kirby eyebrows? No, it's a whole thing. Like, in the United States, all the box art for Kirby's have the angry eyebrows, And all the Japanese covers have the happy Kirby without the angry eyebrows.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, because they got to make Kirby edgier for the kids who don't want the pink fluff ball. They want tough Kirby.
Sure, we'll go with that.
It was a fun.
Well, it'll be a good time. So you'll have to catch us next week for Kirby Week.
All right, until next time, remember that absence makes the heart game harder. Goodbye.
See ya!